I've never looked at a man before, but when my gay best friend touched my hand, I almost told him everything. Almost 2 years ago, I met my current roommate at the gym. We hit it off immediately and started hanging out outside of our workouts. We became close friends, and eventually he told me he was gay. I supported him completely, and it only made our friendship stronger. At the beginning of this year, he was living alone, and I needed a place to stay, so I moved into his second bedroom. I hadn't lived with a roommate since college, so it was nice having someone around again. We both work from home now, so we spend our days in our separate rooms and then hang out together every evening. The first time I ever felt anything for him was when I bumped into him in the hallway. You know when you round a corner too fast and collide with someone? We laughed and walked away, but when we were close to each other, I felt this flip in my stomach. Butterflies. I thought it was so weird. I convinced myself I was just so touch-starved that my body was confusing signals. Then it happened again when he reached over to look at a tattoo on my arm. I knew then that something was different. That was a few months ago. It took me a long time to admit to myself that I might actually have feelings for him. For weeks I ignored it or denied it, but lately I just really want him. The other day I came up behind him while he was sitting on the couch. I put my hands on his shoulders to ask what he wanted to do that night. He reached up and put his hands on top of mine. I nearly stopped breathing. I wanted so badly to lean down and wrap my arms around him. Instead, I pulled away. I've always said I was straight, but I'm not an idiot. I know there's a spectrum. If you asked drunk me a year ago whether I would kiss a guy on a dare, I probably would have said sure. But if you asked sober me a year ago whether I would ever date a man for real, I would have said absolutely not. Now I'm not so sure. Lately, the moments between us have been getting harder to ignore. For a while, I don't think he noticed because we've always been playful with each other, but now the tension is starting to become obvious. Sometimes when we drink at home, I catch myself staring at his eyes for a second too long. Last week, I came into the kitchen after a shower. I have waist-length hair and it was still wet. He looked at me and made this sound like a soft laugh. I kept asking him what was funny and he wouldn't tell me. Finally, I got it out of him. He said nothing. It's just your hair looks nice like that. Then he laughed and called me little metalhead. I turned so red I had to leave the kitchen and go to my room. I threw myself onto my bed and stared at the ceiling for an hour. I still think about him saying that every single day. I really want to tell him how I feel, but I don't know what to say or how to say it. If he rejects me, I don't think I will ever recover. We're spending Christmas together this year, just the two of us. We're getting our tree this weekend, and I've decided that's what I'm going to tell him. I've been rehearsing what to say in my head for days. Last night we were watching a movie on the couch, and he fell asleep with his head on my shoulder. I didn't move for 2 hours. When he woke up, he looked up at me and smiled and said sorry. I told him it was fine. He didn't move away. He just stayed there looking at me. Then he said my name in this voice I had never heard from him before, and asked if he could tell me something. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear him. Before he could say anything else, his phone rang. It was his mom. He got up to take the call, and when he came back, the moment was gone. He said goodnight and went to his room. I've been lying awake since 3 in the morning, wondering what he was about to say. The tree lot opens in 4 hours. I don't think I can wait until then to find out. I lie in bed staring at the ceiling while the numbers on my clock flip from 3:59 to 4:00. The moment on the couch keeps playing in my head like a video stuck on repeat. The way he said my name. That tone I'd never heard before. His eyes when he looked up at me from my shoulder. How he stayed there even after he woke up instead of pulling away like he was embarrassed. I keep trying to remember exactly what his face looked like right before his phone rang. Was he nervous? Hopeful? Scared? I replay it over and over, but I can't figure it out. My brain won't let me sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see him looking at me and asking if he could tell me something. What was he going to say? Was it the same thing I've been trying to tell him? Or was it something else entirely? Maybe he was going to tell me he's moving out. Maybe he's met someone. Maybe he was going to say he thinks things have gotten weird between us and we need space. That thought makes my stomach hurt. I roll over and check my phone even though I know it's too early for the tree lot to be open. Still 3 more hours. At 6, I give up and drag myself to the bathroom. I turn the shower as hot as it'll go and stand under the water for way longer than normal. I wash my hair twice because I can't stop thinking about him calling me little metalhead. The way he laughed when he said it, how red my face got. I condition my hair and comb through it carefully, even though I don't know why I'm putting in this much effort. When I finally get out, the mirror is completely fogged up. I wipe it clear and look at myself. My hair hangs past my waist and drips water onto the floor. I wonder if he'll notice I tried to make it look nice. I wonder if he thinks about that moment in the kitchen as much as I do. I get dressed in jeans and a clean shirt and actually dry my hair instead of just letting it air dry like usual. When I open the bathroom door, I can smell coffee brewing. He's already awake. My stomach does that flip thing again. He's standing at the counter pouring coffee into 2 mugs when I walk into the kitchen. He turns around and smiles at me, and I have to grip the doorframe for a second. He's wearing his gray hoodie and his hair is messy like he just woke up, but he looks perfect. He holds out one of the mugs and I take it from him. Our fingers touch for half a second and I feel that jolt of electricity run up my arm. Thanks. I manage to say it without my voice cracking. He nods and takes a sip from his own mug. We stand there in silence for a minute. It's not our normal, comfortable silence. This one feels heavy. Like we're both waiting for the other person to say something important. We should probably head out soon, he finally says. The lot opens at 7. Yeah. I look down at my coffee. Sounds good. We drive to the tree lot with the radio playing quietly between us. Neither of us talks much. I keep opening my mouth to say something and then closing it again because everything sounds stupid in my head. I've been rehearsing what to tell him for days, but now that we're actually alone in the car together, all my practiced words have disappeared. What if I'm completely wrong about this? What if all those moments I thought meant something were just normal friend stuff and I'm reading way too much into everything? What if I tell him how I feel and he looks at me like I'm crazy? We pull into the parking lot and I still haven't said anything. The tree lot is mostly empty since we're here right when they open. A few employees are setting up and there's one other car parked near the entrance. We get out and start walking through the rows of trees. He points at a really tall one and makes a joke about needing a ladder. I laugh, but it comes out forced. We fall into our normal pattern of looking at trees and debating which ones are too short or too fat or too sparse. He reaches out to test the branches on a Douglas fir and his hand brushes against mine. I jerk back like I've been shocked. He looks at me for a second and I can see something in his eyes, but I can't read it. We keep walking. Every time we get close to each other, or our hands touch while we're examining branches, I feel like my whole body is on fire. This is ridiculous. We've touched 1,000,000 times before. But now everything feels different. Everything feels like it means something. An employee walks over to us with a measuring stick. He's probably in his 50s with a beard and a flannel jacket. You guys finding everything okay? He asks. Yeah, we're good, my roommate says. Just trying to decide on the right height. Decorating your place together? The employee looks between us. You two make a cute couple. I freeze. My face goes hot and I can't make myself look at my roommate. Oh, we're just... My roommate starts to laugh it off. He does it smoothly like he's used to people assuming. But I catch him glancing at me out of the corner of his eye. Like he's trying to see how I'm reacting. Thanks, I somehow manage to say. We appreciate the help. The employee nods and walks away. My roommate doesn't say anything about it. We keep looking at trees, but now the air between us feels even more charged. We finally agree on a 7-foot Douglas fir that's full and even on all sides. It's perfect. We wait near the wrapping station while they get it ready. My roommate pulls out his wallet to pay. I stand there like an idiot with my hands in my pockets. All my rehearsed words have completely vanished. I had this whole speech planned about how I've been feeling and how I know it might be weird, but I can't keep pretending nothing is happening. But standing here watching him hand his card to the employee, I can't remember a single word of it. He finishes paying and we walk toward his car. The employee helps us load the wrapped tree onto the roof rack. It takes both of us to lift it and get it secured properly. We end up pressed close together, reaching over the tree to tie down the straps. I can feel the warmth from his body even through our jackets. He's so close I can smell his shampoo. We both grab for the same strap at the same time and our hands collide. He doesn't pull away. Neither do I. We're standing there with the tree between us and our hands touching, and he's looking right at me. I look back. For a long moment, we just stare at each other over the pine branches. Then he blinks and looks away and the moment breaks. We finish tying down the tree in silence. The drive home is quiet again. I stare out the window and try to calm down. My hands are shaking. Back at the apartment, we wrestle the tree through the front door. Pine needles scatter everywhere across the floor. We laugh as we try to maneuver it through the hallway without knocking over the lamp. We finally get it into the living room and spend 20 minutes fighting with the tree stand to get it straight. More needles fall. I end up with sap stuck in my hair somehow. I try to pull it out, but it's really stuck. He notices me struggling and steps closer. He reaches up and carefully works the small branch free from behind my ear. His fingers brush against my neck. They stay there for a second longer than necessary. I stop breathing. He's so close I can see the flecks of color in his eyes. Then he steps back and holds up the tiny branch. Got it. His voice sounds different, quieter. Thanks. Mine sounds weird too. We order pizza because neither of us feels like cooking. We spend the afternoon pulling out boxes of Christmas decorations from the hall closet. We sit on the floor untangling strings of lights while a Christmas movie plays on TV. He makes comments about the cheesy dialogue and I laugh at his jokes. The normalcy of it starts to make me relax. We've done this kind of thing 100 times, just hanging out and watching movies and talking about nothing important. For a little while, I almost forget that I'm supposed to be confessing my feelings. Almost forget about the tension that's been building between us for months. We're just two friends decorating for Christmas. Then he speaks. Hey. He says it casually, but something in his tone makes me look up. I'm sorry about last night. When my mom called. It's fine. I focus on the lights in my hands. Don't worry about it. No, I mean... He pauses. Do you remember what I was about to tell you? My heart starts pounding so hard I can hear it in my ears. I have to focus on breathing normally, on not letting my hands shake, on keeping my voice steady. Yeah, I remember. I tell him I've been thinking about it all night. My voice comes out weird and shaky. He doesn't look at me. He keeps messing with the strand of lights in his hands, winding it around his fingers and then unwinding it again. The silence stretches out between us until it feels like something solid taking up space in the room. I watch his hands work the cord and wait for him to say something. Anything. But he just keeps his eyes down and focuses on those lights like they're the most important thing in the world. My chest starts to feel tight. I wonder if I shouldn't have said anything at all. Maybe I should have just let it go and pretended I forgot about the whole thing. But I can't pretend anymore. Not after watching him almost tell me something important before his mom called. The not knowing is worse than any answer he could give me. He finally speaks, but his voice sounds different. Careful. He says maybe it's better he didn't say it. That he doesn't want to make things weird between us. The words hit me harder than I expected. I can hear something underneath what he's saying. Fear. Real fear in his voice that makes my chest hurt in a way I've never felt before. He's scared of losing me. Scared of changing what we have. And I get it because I'm terrified too. But hearing that fear makes me realize we're already past the point of going back to how things were. The weirdness is already here. We're living in it right now. Sitting on the floor surrounded by Christmas decorations and pretending we can ignore the tension that's been building for months. I can't do it anymore. I can't keep pretending. I put down the ornament I'm holding. It makes a small sound against the hardwood floor. I turn to face him fully and wait until he looks at me. When his eyes finally meet mine, I tell him he could never make things weird. That he's my best friend and he can tell me anything. I mean every word. Whatever he needs to say, I can handle it. Even if it's not what I want to hear. Even if it makes everything more complicated. I just need to know. He stares at me for a long moment with this look on his face that I can't figure out. It's not quite relief and not quite worry. Something in between. Something that makes my heart beat faster because I think maybe he feels the same way I do. Maybe all this tension hasn't just been in my head. He opens his mouth and I hold my breath. This is it. He's going to tell me whatever he almost said last night. But then his phone starts ringing from across the room where he left it on the couch. We both look at it. The screen lights up with his mom's name. He closes his eyes and lets out this frustrated laugh that sounds more like a groan. I laugh too, but it comes out forced and hollow. The moment breaks apart like glass. He gets up to answer the phone and I hear him talking to his mom about Christmas dinner plans. What time we should come over. What she's making. Whether we need to bring anything. Normal conversation about normal things while I sit on the floor and try to calm my racing heart. When he comes back, he sits down, but the energy has shifted. The moment is gone. We go back to untangling lights and hanging ornaments. We don't talk about it again. That night I lie in bed staring at my ceiling again. The clock on my nightstand says 2 a.m, then 3, then 4. I can't stop thinking about how we keep getting so close to having this conversation, and then something interrupts. His mom calling. Work stuff. Other people showing up. It's like the universe is actively working against us. But I know that's not really true. The universe isn't doing anything. We're just scared. Both of us. Too scared to actually say what we need to say. Christmas is in less than 2 weeks. 11 days exactly. I don't know how much longer I can handle this. The tension is becoming unbearable. Every time he looks at me, I wonder if this is the moment. Every time we're alone together, I think maybe now. But nothing happens. We just keep dancing around it. I need to figure out how to actually tell him. Not just plan to tell him or almost tell him. Actually do it. The next morning, I drag myself out of bed after maybe 2 hours of sleep. I make coffee and sit at the kitchen table. He comes out of his room a few minutes later, already dressed for the day. He pours himself coffee and sits across from me. I look up and catch him staring, just looking right at me with this expression I can't read. When I ask what he's thinking about, he shakes his head fast, says nothing important, but his ears are bright red. I know that tell. He always gets red ears when he's lying or embarrassed. I want to push, but I don't. We drink our coffee in silence. The tension sits between us like a third person at the table. Later that day, he asks if I want to go to the gym. We haven't worked out together in weeks. We've both been too busy with work, and honestly, I've been avoiding it. But I can't avoid him forever. We live together. So I say yes. We drive to the gym and change in the locker room and head to the weight section. Working out next to him feels completely different now. I keep getting distracted, watching the way he moves, the way his shirt pulls across his shoulders when he does pull-ups, the way he wipes sweat from his face with the bottom of his shirt. I've seen him work out hundreds of times before. It never felt like this. I have to force myself to focus on my own sets, to stop staring, I'm pretty sure he notices because he keeps glancing at me with this look on his face. Half amused and half something else. Our mutual friend from the gym walks over while we're resting between sets. He asks if we're still living together. When we both say yes, he laughs and makes some joke about us being an old married couple. My face goes hot. My roommate handles it like he always does. Makes a joke back. Laughs it off smooth and easy. But when he reaches for his water bottle, I see his hand shaking. Just slightly. Enough that I notice. Enough that I know he's not as calm as he's pretending to be. Our friend keeps talking about something else, but I'm not really listening anymore. I'm watching my roommate's hand shake as he drinks his water. Watching him try to act normal when clearly neither of us feels normal right now. After the gym, we grab coffee at the place down the street. We order our usual drinks and find a table in the corner. We sit down and he takes a breath like he's about to say something important. Then he actually does. He brings up last night. Says he really does need to tell me something. That it's important. My heart starts pounding so hard I can feel it in my throat. I tell him I need to tell him something too. The words just come out. We both laugh, but it sounds nervous and shaky. Neither of us seems to know how to actually start this conversation. The coffee shop is crowded. People talking loud at other tables, music playing overhead. It feels too public, too exposed. He must be thinking the same thing because he suggests we go for a walk instead. We leave our coffee cups on the table half full and head outside. We end up at this park near our apartment. Just a small neighborhood park with a path that loops around. We start walking. Slow. Neither of us talking. Just walking side by side trying to figure out who should go first. The silence feels different from it did before. Not uncomfortable exactly. More like we're both building up courage. The path curves through some trees and comes out near a pond. We keep walking. Our hands swing close enough that they almost touch. Almost, but not quite. I think about reaching for his hand. About just grabbing it and seeing what happens. But I can't make myself do it. So we just keep walking, waiting for one of us to be brave enough to finally say something real. I open my mouth to say something real. Something honest about how I've been feeling. But before any words come out, this woman with a golden retriever stops right in front of us on the path. She's looking at my hair with this big smile on her face and asking if I'm in a band. I can feel all the courage I'd been building up start to slip away. My roommate steps back a little to give us space, and I watch him pull out his phone. The woman keeps talking about how her son plays guitar and has long hair too. She asks what kind of music I play. I tell her I don't actually play in a band, just listen to a lot of metal. She laughs and says I look like I should be on stage. The whole conversation probably only lasts 3 or 4 minutes, but it feels like forever. When she finally walks away with her dog, I turn back to my roommate. He's still looking at his phone. The moment is completely gone. We start walking again, but neither of us says anything. I can't figure out how to get back to where we were before the interruption. We loop around the pond one more time and end up near a bench. He sits down first and I sit next to him. Close, but not touching. He puts his phone in his pocket and turns to look at me with this really serious expression. My stomach does that flip thing again. He takes a breath and says he needs to ask me something. I nod because I don't trust my voice right now. He asks if I've noticed things feeling different between us lately. The way he asks makes it sound like he already knows the answer, but needs to hear me say it. I tell him yes. That things have felt different for a while now. I watch his whole face change. Relief washes over him so fast it's almost funny. He lets out this breath like he'd been holding it for days. Then he asks what I think that means. I realize he's trying to figure out if I feel the same way he does. If this tension between us is mutual, or if it's all in his head. Before I can answer, my phone starts ringing. I pull it out and see it's my boss. I almost don't answer, but then I remember I've been waiting for feedback on this project all week. I apologize and take the call. It's a work emergency, an actual one. Not something I can deal with later. My boss needs me to fix something that broke in production and it can't wait. I stand up and start walking back toward the parking lot. My roommate follows without saying anything. The whole drive home is silent. Not comfortable silence either. The kind where you can feel everything that isn't being said pressing down on both of you. Back at the apartment, I go straight to my room and open my laptop. The next 3 hours disappear into video calls and fixing code and explaining to people what went wrong. I can hear him moving around in his room, working on his own stuff. When I finally close my laptop, it's almost 6. My neck hurts from staring at the screen and I'm starving. I come out of my room and find him in the kitchen looking at his phone. He glances up when I walk in and asks if I'm done with work. I tell him yeah, finally. He says he ordered Thai food. Should be here in 20 minutes. We end up on the couch watching another Christmas movie while we wait for the food. Some old one with claymation that I've never seen before. The food arrives and we eat straight from the containers. Pad Thai for me, green curry for him. We've done this 100 times. It should feel normal. But halfway through the movie, he shifts closer on the couch. Until our shoulders are touching. Neither of us moves away. We just sit there pressed together watching animated reindeer on the screen. I can feel the warmth of him through both our shirts. My heart is doing that pounding thing again. I want to say something about earlier, about what he asked me in the park, but I can't make the words come out. When the movie ends, he picks up our empty containers and takes them to the kitchen. I follow him because sitting alone on the couch feels wrong. He's rinsing the containers in the sink when I finally work up enough courage. I tell him I've been thinking a lot about what he asked earlier, about whether I've noticed things feeling different. He stops rinsing and turns off the water, turns around to face me fully. I can see him holding his breath, waiting for whatever I'm about to say. I start trying to explain how I've been feeling, how the past few months have been confusing and scary and exciting all at once. But then I panic, completely lose my nerve. I change the subject to something stupid about work instead, about the bug I spent all afternoon fixing. I watch disappointment flash across his face even though he tries to hide it. He dries his hands on a towel and says, "That's good. I got it fixed." Then he says he's tired and thinks he'll go to bed early. I say goodnight and he disappears into his room. I stand in the kitchen alone, feeling like the biggest coward on the planet. The next morning, I wake up to my phone ringing. I answer without looking at who's calling and hear my roommate's landlord on the other end. Except he's my landlord too now, I guess. He's calling to tell us they've decided to sell the building. We need to be out by March. He apologizes for the short notice, but says that's just how it worked out. When I hang up, I lie there staring at the ceiling, trying to process what just happened. I get up and find my roommate already awake making coffee. I tell him about the call. His face goes pale. He says the landlord called him too. We both just stand there in the kitchen trying to figure out what this means. Finding a new place in this city is hard. Finding something affordable is almost impossible. We spend the rest of the day looking at apartment listings online, sitting next to each other on the couch with our laptops open. Every place that looks decent is way too expensive. Everything in our price range looks like it should be condemned. The conversation keeps dancing around the real question, whether we're looking for a place together or separate places. Neither of us wants to say it out loud. By evening, we've looked at probably 50 listings and haven't found anything good. He closes his laptop and rubs his eyes. Then he just asks it directly. Says he needs to know if I want to keep living with him or if I'd rather get my own place. The way he asks makes it clear there's a much bigger question underneath. He's asking if I want to keep doing this, whatever this is between us. If I want to keep pretending nothing is happening, or if I want something to actually happen. I tell him I can't imagine living anywhere else. That living with him has been the best part of my year. He smiles, but it's not the smile I was hoping for. There's something sad in it. Like my answer wasn't quite what he wanted to hear. He nods and says that's good, and goes back to scrolling through apartment listings. I watch him for a minute, trying to figure out what I said wrong. But then my phone buzzes with another work email, and the moment passes. We spend the rest of the night looking at places in silence. Every apartment feels wrong somehow. Too expensive, or too far away, or too small. By midnight, we've both closed our laptops without finding anything. He says goodnight and disappears into his room. I lie in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering why everything feels so complicated. A few days go by and nothing changes. We're both weird around each other now. Careful. Like we're walking on glass. I wake up early one morning and can't fall back asleep. It's barely 6 and still dark outside. I get up to get water and find him already awake on the couch. He's looking at his phone with this expression I can't read. When I ask if he's okay, he jumps a little, like he didn't hear me come in. He puts his phone down and rubs his face, says he barely slept, that he's been overthinking everything. I sit down next to him and ask what he means by everything. He laughs, but it sounds hollow, says he doesn't even know anymore. That things between us have gotten so weird and he doesn't know how to fix it. I tell him I know what he means, that I've been feeling it too. He looks at me then, and I can see how tired he is. There are circles under his eyes. He says he misses when things felt easy between us, when we could just hang out without all this tension. I tell him I miss that too, but then I hear myself adding that I don't want to go back. The words just come out. He turns to face me fully, asks what I mean by not wanting to go back. My mouth goes completely dry. I can feel my pulse in my throat. I realize I've backed myself into having to explain something I don't even understand myself. I start talking before I can stop myself. Tell him I've been questioning a lot of things about myself lately, things I always thought I had figured out. He stays quiet and just lets me talk. I can see him processing what I'm trying to say. His eyes don't leave my face. I keep going even though every word feels clumsy. Tell him that I've never really thought about being with a guy before, that it never crossed my mind as something I'd want. But lately I can't stop thinking about being with him specifically. Not guys in general, just him. The words come out awkward and wrong, but at least they're finally out there. He's quiet for a long time, just sitting there looking at me. Then he asks if I'm sure I'm not just confused, or lonely. His voice is careful, like he's afraid of the answer. But I can hear something else underneath. Hope, maybe. Or fear. Probably both. I tell him I've thought about that. Wondered if maybe I was just making things up in my head because we spend so much time together. But it doesn't feel like that. What I feel for him is different from any friendship I've ever had. I've never wanted to kiss a friend before. Never stayed awake thinking about someone's hands or their voice or the way they laugh. I tell him I've never been more sure of anything, even though it scares me. He reaches for my hand. His fingers slide between mine, and suddenly we're holding hands. Just sitting there on the couch holding hands while the sun starts coming up outside. Neither of us says anything else, but we don't need to. The silence feels different now. Not tense or awkward. Just quiet. Eventually, he leans his head on my shoulder like he did that night on the couch. The night his mom called and interrupted everything. I can feel him breathing, feel the weight of him against me. We stay like that for a long time, until the room gets bright with morning light and I can hear cars starting to drive by outside. Later that morning, he lifts his head and asks if we can talk about what this means for us. I tell him yes. We both acknowledge we're scared out of our minds about ruining our friendship. That what we have is too important to mess up. But we also can't keep pretending nothing is happening. Can't keep dancing around each other and leaving things unsaid. He asks what I want. I tell him I want to try, want to see what this could be. He says he wants that too, has wanted it for months. We sit there holding hands and making promises to be honest with each other, to take things slow, to protect our friendship no matter what happens. I suggest we just see how this feels, that we don't need to have everything figured out right now. He nods slowly and says that makes sense. Then he smiles a little and points out we're already living together. That's not exactly taking things slow. I laugh because he's right. We've been sharing a home for months already. We've seen each other at our worst. Morning breath and sick days and bad moods. If we were going to mess this up, we probably would have done it by now. He reaches over and squeezes my hand once before letting go. Says he's going to make more coffee. I watch him walk to the kitchen and feel this weird mix of excited and scared, like I just jumped off something high and I'm still falling. That afternoon, he's on a work call in his room. I need groceries, so I grab my keys and head to the store down the street. I'm in the produce section trying to remember if we need more onions when someone calls my name. I turn around and it's our friend from the gym, the guy we both know from when we first met almost 2 years ago. He walks over with his cart and asks how I've been. Says he hasn't seen us at the gym much lately. I tell him we've both been busy with work. He nods and then gets this look on his face, this knowing smile. He says my roommate has been talking about me a lot lately. That every time they run into each other at the gym, my roommate finds a way to bring me up. He says my roommate seems really happy these days. The way he says it makes me think he knows something, or suspects something. I feel my face get hot and I mumble something about us being good friends. He just grins wider and says, yeah, he can tell. Then he says he's happy for us and walks away before I can figure out what to say back. When I get home, he's off his call. He's sitting on the couch with his laptop scrolling through apartment listings. I put the groceries away and then sit down next to him. Tell him I ran into our friend at the store. He looks up and asks which friend. I say the guy from the gym. The one we both know. His face does this thing where he tries to look normal, but I can see panic in his eyes. He asks what we talked about. I tell him our friend mentioned he's been talking about me a lot. That he said you seem really happy. He closes his laptop and puts his face in his hands. Groans. Says he's so embarrassed. I ask why, and he looks at me through his fingers. Says he hasn't known what else to do with his feelings. That talking about me to other people were the only way he could deal with it without actually telling me. Hearing him say the word feelings out loud makes my chest feel tight. In a good way. Like something that was loose is finally clicking into place. I tell him it's okay, that I'm glad he was talking about me. He drops his hands and looks at me, asks if I mean that. I tell him yes. We sit there looking at each other for a long moment. Then he goes back to the apartment listings and I lean against his shoulder while we look together. The next few days are strange. We're in this space where we're definitely more than friends, but we haven't actually said what we are. Haven't defined anything or set any rules. We keep almost touching, almost saying things, almost crossing whatever invisible line is still between us. The tension feels different now, though. Less like anxiety and more like waiting. Like standing at the top of a roller coaster right before it drops. We still work in our separate rooms during the day, still hang out every evening, but now when we watch movies, we sit closer. When we cook dinner together, our hands brush more often. When we say goodnight, there's always this pause where it feels like one of us might say something else. But we never do. Christmas Eve arrives and I wake up feeling like I might throw up. We've been planning this dinner all week. Decided we need to actually talk about everything tonight. Put words to whatever this is. But now that it's here, I'm scared out of my mind. What if I say the wrong thing? What if he changes his mind? What if this ruins everything? I take a long shower and try to calm down. When I come out, he's already in the kitchen starting to prep food. He looks just as nervous as I feel. We spend the afternoon cooking together, making too much food for just 2 people. We keep making small talk about nothing important. The weather, work stuff, what movie we should watch later. Both of us dancing around what we actually need to talk about. By the time we sit down to eat, I feel like my skin is buzzing. We make it through the first course barely saying anything real, just commenting on the food, asking each other to pass things. The silence gets heavier and heavier until finally he puts down his fork. Looks at me across the table. Says we can't keep dancing around this. I put my fork down too. Tell him he's right. That I'll go first this time. I take a deep breath and try to remember all the things I've been rehearsing in my head for weeks. But none of it comes out right. I tell him I've spent so much time trying to figure out the perfect words. The right way to say this. But there isn't a right way. So I'm just gonna be honest. My hands are shaking a little, so I put them in my lap where he can't see. I tell him I'm falling for him. That it scares me more than anything because I've never felt this way about anyone. Let alone my best friend. Let alone a guy. I tell him I don't have all the answers about what this means, about my identity or labels or any of that, but I know what I want. I want him. Want this. Want us to try to see what we could be together. He doesn't say anything for a long moment. Just sits there looking at me with this expression I can't read. Then he takes a shaky breath and tells me he's been in love with me for months. Maybe longer than that. He says he's been trying so hard to get over it, thought he could just wait it out until these feelings went away. Because he thought I was straight. Thought telling me would mean losing me completely. And losing me as a friend would be worse than never getting to be with me. His voice breaks a little on the last part. I can see his eyes getting wet. I tell him he's not going to lose me. That I'm right here and I'm not going anywhere. That I want this as much as he does. Maybe I've wanted it longer than I even realized. We're both crying a little bit now, both laughing at ourselves for being such a mess. He gets up from his chair and comes around the table, sits in the chair next to mine instead, takes both my hands in his. His fingers are warm and steady, even though I can feel them trembling slightly. We sit there holding hands across the corner of the table, our dinner getting cold, neither of us caring at all. He leans forward, his eyes lock on mine. His voice drops to almost a whisper when he asks if he can kiss me. I say yes before my brain can catch up and start listing all the reasons this is scary. His hand comes up to cut my jaw. His thumb brushes across my cheekbone. Then his lips touch mine and everything else disappears. The kiss is soft at first. Gentle. Like he's giving me a chance to change my mind. But I don't want to change my mind. I lean into him, and he makes this small sound in the back of his throat that makes my whole body feel warm. When we finally break apart, we're both breathing hard. He rests his forehead against mine. Neither of us says anything for a long moment. Then he stands up and holds out his hand. I take it, and he pulls me up from my chair. We move to the couch without letting go of each other. He sits down first, and I follow. His hands slide into my hair like he's been wanting to do this for months. Maybe he has been. I pull him closer by his shirt, and we're kissing again. This time it's deeper. More sure. His fingers tangle in my hair, and I can feel him smiling against my lips. We end up lying down somehow. Him half on top of me with one leg between mine. My hands are everywhere. His shoulders, his back, the sides of his face. I can't get enough of touching him now that I'm allowed to. He pulls back just enough to look at me. His pupils are huge and his lips are red from kissing. He looks happy. Really genuinely happy in a way I haven't seen in weeks. I probably look the same. We stay like that for what feels like hours. Kissing slowly. Taking breaks to just look at each other and grin like complete idiots. At some point he says this is the best Christmas present he's ever gotten. I tell him same. He laughs and kisses me again. Eventually we stop to actually talk. The Christmas tree lights are still on and it's probably past midnight now. He's lying with his head on my chest. My fingers are playing with his hair. He asks me when I first knew. I tell him about the hallway collision, about the butterflies, about every single moment after that where I tried to convince myself I was imagining things. He listens without interrupting. When I finish, he tells me about his side of things. How he realized he had feelings for me about 6 months ago. How he tried so hard to get over it because he thought I was straight. How watching me walk around the apartment with wet hair was actual torture. That makes me laugh. He props himself up on his elbow to look at me. Says he's serious. Says he used to have to leave the room sometimes because looking at me hurt too much. I pull him back down and kiss the top of his head. Tell him he doesn't have to leave rooms anymore. We talk until the sky starts getting light outside. About everything we've been too scared to say out loud. About what this means for us. About how terrified we both are of messing this up. But also how right it feels. How inevitable. Like we were always going to end up here eventually. I must fall asleep at some point because I wake up to sunlight coming through the windows. He's still wrapped around me, still sleeping. I lie there watching him breathe for a few minutes. His face is relaxed in a way it hasn't been lately. Peaceful. I think about how much everything changed in one night. How I went to bed yesterday not knowing if he felt the same way. And now I'm waking up with him in my arms. He stirs and opens his eyes. Sees me watching him. Smiles this sleepy smile that makes my chest tight. We exchange good mornings. He asks if I slept okay. I tell him best sleep I've had in weeks. He agrees. We eventually get up to make coffee. Move around the kitchen like we always do, except now he can come up behind me while I'm waiting for the pot to brew. Can wrap his arms around my waist and rest his chin on my shoulder. Can kiss the side of my neck and make me forget what I was doing. After coffee, we remember it's actually Christmas morning. We'd bought presents for each other weeks ago, back when we were still just roommates, just friends. We sit on the floor by the tree to open them. I go first. I got him a nice set of headphones he'd been wanting. He seems happy with them, but also distracted. Keeps looking at me instead of the box. Then it's his turn to give me mine. He hands me a small wrapped package. Tells me he almost didn't give it to me. Says it felt too revealing before last night. I unwrap it carefully. Inside is a guitar pick on a silver chain. The pick is black with silver edges. Engraved on it are the words, "Little Metalhead." I stare at it for a long moment. My eyes start burning. He asks if it's okay, if it's too much. I tell him it's perfect. Put it on immediately. He fastens the clasp at the back of my neck. His fingers linger there longer than necessary. We spend the rest of Christmas Day doing normal things, cooking a big meal together, watching movies. Except now everything is different. Now I can reach over and take his hand while we're watching TV. Now he can lean against me on the couch without it being weird. Now we can kiss whenever we want. And we do. A lot. It feels surreal. Like I'm going to wake up and find out I imagined the whole thing. But every time I look down and see the necklace or catch him watching me with that soft expression, I know it's real. The next few days are strange. Good strange, but still an adjustment. We have to figure out what our relationship looks like now. How to be roommates and also whatever we are to each other. Sometimes it's awkward. Like when we both reach for the bathroom at the same time in the morning and have to negotiate who goes first. Or when we're both working and I want to go kiss him but don't know if that's allowed during work hours. We talk about it. Set some basic boundaries. Decide we'll figure the rest out as we go. One night while we're making dinner, he brings up telling people. Asks if I want to tell friends and family or keep this private for a while. I don't have a good answer. Part of me wants to tell everyone. Part of me wants to keep this just ours for a bit longer. We decide to tell close people when we're ready, but not make any big announcements. Not rush into anything. A few days later, he calls his mom. I can hear her reaction from across the room even though he doesn't have her on speaker. She's excited. Really excited. When he hangs up, he's grinning. Tells me she said she suspected something for months. Said she could hear it in his voice when he talked about me. That makes me feel good. Like maybe this isn't as scary as I thought. Like maybe people will just be happy for us. We also start looking at apartments more seriously. Our landlord is still selling the building. We need to be out by March. Looking at places feels different now. Before we were just looking for somewhere to live. Now we're looking for our place. Somewhere that's ours together. We find one about 2 weeks into January. It's bigger than our current place. Has a kitchen with actual counter space and big windows that let in tons of light. The bedroom is huge. We stand in the empty space and I can picture our stuff in here. Our bed, our life. He asks if I like it. I tell him I love it. We sign the lease that day. A year commitment. It feels significant. Like we're really doing this. Like this is real and we're building something together. That night we celebrate with takeout and cheap wine. Sit on our current couch in our current apartment that we'll be leaving soon. He raises his glass. Says here's to new beginnings. I clink my glass against his. Kiss him. Think about how much has changed since that night on the couch when his mom called. How scared I was then. How sure I am now. We still have a lot to figure out. Still have moments where I panic about what this all means. But when I look at him, I know I made the right choice. Know that telling him was the best thing I've ever done. Know that whatever comes next, we'll figure it out together. New Year's Eve arrives and we decide to go back to the park where we had our almost conversation a few weeks ago. The same bench where we sat and tried to tell each other how we felt before work calls and interruptions kept getting in the way. Now we walk there holding hands and it feels like the most natural thing in the world. The park is busier tonight with other couples and families waiting for midnight. We find our bench and sit close together. He leans against me and I wrap my arm around his shoulders. We talk about the year that's ending and everything that happened. How scared we both were to say anything. How many times we almost told each other. How we thought we were going crazy with all the tension and wondering if the other person felt the same way. At midnight, the fireworks start going off over the city skyline in the distance. Everyone around us is cheering and kissing their partners. He turns to face me, and we kiss while the sky lights up with color and sound. I think about that first time in the hallway when I felt those butterflies and didn't know what they meant. Think about every moment after that led us here. Back home, we open a bottle of champagne and sit on the floor by the tree. We start talking about the year ahead and what we want to do together. He suggests a road trip in the spring to see some national parks. I tell him I've always wanted to go to the coast. We make a list of places we want to visit and things we want to try. The conversation shifts to the new apartment and how we want to set it up, what furniture we need to get, how we'll split up the space. It feels good to plan a future together, to talk about our life like it's real and permanent. I still don't have all the labels figured out for what I am or what this means about my identity. But sitting here with him making plans and laughing about stupid things, I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. With exactly the right person. And that's enough.